What's up, people? In this video, we are going to look at Abbey Sharp. Abbey Sharp is a registered dietitian. All right. Ooh, she talks about Kenzie Burke. Ugh, Kenzie Burke, where are you? Okay. Yeah. Anyway, what did this person ask me to do about vagina edition? Oh my god, camel toe cushion. Okay. Vagina detox pearl? Oh my god. Alright. I forget what this person asked me to look at. I don't remember. I want to say it was like Freely the Banana Girl's What I Eat in a Day. Oh my god. Did I watch this at some point? I don't know. Okay. Fully raw. Oh, so she does like she like reviews this stuff too. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Raw carnivore diet. That might be interesting. It's 20 minutes, so I'm gonna want to do that. Okay. I guess she does like what I do, basically. I'm kind of curious, but not actually. Alright, so oh god, I don't want to do any of these. I don't know. I guess we'll do Sv3rige. Alright, anyway, if you guys have any other recommendations for YouTubers or videos you want me to take a look at, let me know. I think this person told me to do a specific video, I didn't write it down, so whatever. Anyway, yeah, just leave me a comment.
Hey everyone, I'm Abbey Sharp. Welcome to Abby's Kitchen and another edition of What I Eat in a Day YouTuber review. So I've been reading all of your comments and a lot of you guys have asked me to review a carnivore's diet. And there's a few of them, the few names that I've seen come up often, but I'm gonna work my way through and start with this guy. His name's Sv3rige. I don't know how to say his name, so I'm just gonna call him Goatus, Goaty, Goatman. I don't know, cue the T-Swift, that's all I know. Second of all, I want you guys all to know how much I love you because it was like painful for me to watch these videos for a lot of reasons, many of which I don't have time to like get into detail on during this video. But things like the fact that he thinks the Earth is flat, it seems like he's anti-Semitic, and also he has another video called "Serial Killers Are the Real Heroes: Organ Harvesting." And when asked if it's suggesting that we kill and eat people, his response was yes. Yeah, and YouTube screened and pulled down my video. YouTube, we got to do better at this. We got to take this down. But anyway, I'm here to talk food, not politics, so I want to get into analyzing his diet. Before we get started, a big warning, especially to all of my vegan viewers, what you're about to see probably will offend you, because quite honestly, it offends the out of me too. So let's do this. That's enough of that, I would say. I just want to say that I'm trying really hard to be professional and kind with this review, but I'm struggling like immensely to watch this first scene. Basically what we're seeing is a hooded man hunched over in a dark apartment, shoving raw meat and butter into his face. Fine, but let's talk about that liver that he's consuming right there. So don't get me wrong, liver is probably one of the most nutritious organs that you could eat. However, like most things, too much of a good thing can be a bad thing, like a really bad thing. And in the case of liver, we're talking about vitamin toxicity. Vitamin A toxicity to be specific. And yes, that's a real thing. So one 3.5 ounce piece of beef liver.
Okay. So a few things, right? Number one, it's kind of interesting to watch somebody who also is reviewing videos, right? I don't like watch, honestly now I don't watch any YouTube other than what I watch when I make these videos. It's kind of making me hate YouTube. However, sometimes people will send me videos that are actually interesting to me. And I think this is interesting because, like I said, it gives me kind of, I'm watching somebody who's kind of doing the same thing I'm doing, okay? So that's number one. Number two, a little bit of virtue signaling going on here, a little bit, like the whole, well, okay, so first of all, the whole like, okay, Sv3rige is he's nuts, like he's crazy, right? Like I like some of the stuff that he says, but like flat earth, I don't know the anti-Semitic thing, I haven't heard that before. I mean, he's a little out there, so like I wouldn't be surprised, right? It wouldn't like shock me. Okay, so here's the thing, I'm Jewish, right? But like anytime I hear all these like anti-Semitic comments, like I really don't care. Like it doesn't bother me at all. Because I'm not like I'm not like judging him based on like, oh my god, he hates Jews, like therefore I hate all his videos. I don't actually care, right? I'm able to like look at like the health stuff that he's talking about, and like separate that. You know, I don't need to like score points on these people by bringing up like all their like little non-mainstream beliefs, let's call it that, which she does seem to be doing a little bit, like, you know, The whole like, and I understand she's got 100,000 subscribers. Like you got to protect your brand, I guess, at that point. But the whole like trigger warning, like vegans be careful, a hooded man, you know, eating meat. Ooh, that's so gross. A little bit of virtue signaling, but honestly, if Sv3rige like thinks all that stuff, that's a little crazy, in my opinion. Now that said, what I actually want to talk about is this vitamin A toxicity. Okay, so I made another video on this, but like all of the studies that have to do with vitamin A toxicity and copper poisoning which are the two oft quoted risks of eating lots of liver. The copper poisoning, right, because liver does have a lot of copper. The copper poisoning studies were studies from copper piping, okay, water they were studying populations of people, like the frequency of Alzheimer's in populations of people that used copper piping. Okay, so it has nothing to do with eating liver, right? If they, for example, had studied a group of people that ate a lot of liver and they all got Alzheimer's and had like, you know, ridiculously high levels of vitamin A, I'd be like, okay, fine, that's a better indication. But you can't like draw that parallel, and you guys are welcome to look it up on your own, right? I made an entire other video about this if you guys want to go watch that. So anyway, that's the copper poisoning, right? But what she said is vitamin A toxicity. Okay, so now with the vitamin A toxicity, it's kind of the same thing. What they did is they gave, I don't know, either I think it was rats or something, they gave them like super high doses of vitamin A, and I don't know, they like died or like got some awful effects or something like that. And the conclusion that they're drawing from this, unfortunately, is that don't eat too much liver because it has a lot of vitamin A, and if you do, you'll get all these bad effects because we superdosed these rats with vitamin A and they had bad effects. Okay, again, if for example you had given the rats high doses of liver, animal liver, and you know, they had these bad effects, I'd be like, okay, fine, that's a better indicator. But to draw that like conclusion from giving them like a very isolated vitamin, I guess, I think is a mistake, because, and I read this in the studies that I analyzed in my last video, but I forget what it is. I think it's vitamin K or K2 or something. It helps to break down the vitamin A, okay, which is present in extremely high levels in liver. Okay, now I guess the one exception to this, which I looked up later, is polar bear liver, right? But like, who's ever going to eat that? But like, polar bear liver has, like, I don't know, like like beef liver, for example, has like 100,000 or I don't know, 50,000, let's say, whatever, a lot of units of vitamin A, and polar bear liver, like per serving, and polar bear liver has like 9 million, right? So like, okay, a little bit of a difference there. And who's even going to eat that? Like nobody ever. But anyway, let's move on.
It contains about 6 times the recommended amount of vitamin A you should be getting per day. And vitamin A toxicity can lead to vision problems, bone pain, and risk of fractures. It also has more than your recommended cholesterol for the day. And while new research does not suggest that cholesterol is necessarily the cause of heart disease, I would still say that you want to go easy on the portion sizes. And yes, totally fine in moderation, but in combination with everything else going on in this guy's diet, including that stick of butter he's consuming, I would say it's overkill. All right, let's get to his next meal.
Oh my God.
I want to go tomorrow. There's chunks in it. There's chunks in it. So a massive jug of blood is like a lot for me right now, and I watch a lot of true crime. So you'd think I was down with all the creepy, but no. Still want to bomb watching that. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I'm longing for the raw vegan's token green juice right now. But in any case, let's talk about blood. So eating coagulated blood is actually quite common in some places of the world, so I'm going to try really hard not to yuck somebody's yum. However, generally it's mixed with salt, and then either cut into cubes or split with other meats and stuff into casings to make sausages. Like blood sausage, I've had it before. I don't love it, but like I don't hate it. Now, I'm sure a lot of you can imagine that people who eat or drink blood claim that it's a rich source of heme iron and can help prevent anemia. Now, I'm not going to argue with that. Of course, blood is a great source of iron, but as you can see, and when you do, from all of the animal products this guy's eating in his day, iron is really not a nutrient of concern for him. Is there such thing as too much iron? Yes, theoretically, definitely. And iron overload can cause things like arthritis, cancer, heart problems, liver problems, diabetes even, but generally we see this from an excess of iron supplements or if you have an absorption disorder. Could it happen from food? Possibly, especially if this guy is prone to iron overload. However, the body really tightly regulates how much iron is absorbed based on how much or how little is given. The bigger concern that I have is around food safety. So the WHO, or the World Health Organization, have found a few cases of bird flu that they specifically linked to people who consumed raw blood-based dishes. So definitely not something that I would want to contract.
So Sv3rige is crazy. He's like insane. Like, I mean, he's not insane, but like, okay, so I think a lot of the videos that he does, well, specifically this one that she's showing, I haven't seen this, but this is like shock value, right? And he does a lot of that stuff. Like the whole, like he went to a vegan convention and like ate like a dead squirrel or something like at the vegan convention, like just to like get people talking about him, which is very smart, right? Anyway, what you'll see a lot with I don't know, I want to call them fitness professionals, but let's say professionals who work in the health and fitness industry, which a registered dietitian is one. You see this a lot with doctors or like people who are like, you know, have a license or have like a certification or something, and like they give advice that is like, they won't say anything that's not backed up by science, right? Which on paper sounds good, right? But there are some problems with that, like shockingly. One of them being that it's possible that the science is incorrect, right? Like all this stuff from the World Health Organization where they linked meat to cancer. Like, come on, there's a ton of problems with that study. But people who see that, who like blindly trust, you know, official like organizations, governments, like doctors, whatever, they won't question that, and then they'll think in their head, oh my god, meat is bad for you, I can't eat meat anymore or I'll get cancer, right? Another problem is that it's possible that there's stuff out there that works, but just scientists like haven't studied it yet, and there's no like double-blind studies that specifically check that it does these exact things and prove it beyond a reasonable doubt to make that claim. So they generally like there will be some gaps in the recommendations, in my opinion. Also, all this like daily recommended allowance, like it's most of the time it's on the low end. It's like the daily recommended allowance to like survive, right? It doesn't assume that it basically assumes you're like a fat American who smokes 2 packs a day. Like this is what you need to like not die from malnutrition. Which like, are those optimal levels? Probably not. What else did she say? The whole like, I guess she did admit that the whole heme iron overdose or overdose, she called it, likely not to come from food, right? But she did say that high iron, what was it, is linked to like cancer and like blah blah blah, like all this stuff, which maybe that's true. I haven't like double checked all those studies, but is that from eating what Sv3rige is eating? Right? Is that from eating raw meat? Did the study specifically take a look at people who ate raw meat and then had all like this cancer and shit? Probably not. They probably like polled a massive group of people who reported that they eat a lot of regular meat, right? Which like, it's very likely that they were eating like fast food, for example, right? Okay, you eat a lot of fast food, you're drinking a lot of Coke, you're eating a lot of French fries, you're eating just a lot of shitty food in general. And there's a higher likelihood that group of people will have cancer, as opposed to people who are vegetarian. For example, if you're vegetarian, you're going to eat less fast food because there's less vegetarian options at fast food restaurants, right? So like, what variables are they comparing here? And just last thing, oh my god, this video is going to take forever, but last thing is that as far as drinking blood, there's some cultures in Africa that will do this, aside from what she said, like the blood sausages and the blood cubes, which is common in Asia, surprisingly. I didn't know this, but you know, after like, because when I was in Vietnam, I saw that they sold bags of blood, right? And I kind of wanted to try it. I was like, okay, maybe I could try that, right? Because like I've tried raw meat, raw liver, all this shit, and I was like, well, I wonder what would happen if I just like drank the blood, right? I was a little scared, not gonna lie. I was actually a little scared. I didn't try it. So I researched it a little bit, and I found that there's some tribes in Africa or some whatever. Tribes in Africa, and they drink blood because if they were to like kill the cow and eat the cow, then they don't have, it's just like more efficient for them to get what they need to survive by drinking the actual blood. Whew, okay.
Oh god. This guy's licking it off his mustache. Oh. Okay, that's enough. I know, it's enough. We're all cringing here. Yeah, nothing like cracking into a sketchy bag of butter. This is soured butter, to be exact. So basically, soured cultured butter is made kind of like sour cream or yogurt by taking butter and, of course, souring it with some kind of bacterial culture. Sounds like something I would find at some kind of like experimental Michelin star restaurant served with some fancy-ass brioche. So I'm down with the concept, but to just like eat chunks of it like that is like really making my mouth water, and not in like a good mouth-watering way, like when your mouth waters right before you're going to yak. So that's happening. That's fun right now. Also, like, for the love of all that is holy, can somebody just get this guy a f***ing napkin? It's getting like really, really grotesque. Savage would be a better name for this guy. I'm over this.
You're the one that's in your closet, right?
My enema? I don't have an enema in my closet.
Yeah, you do.
What, the red thing?
Wasn't it blue? In the kitchen, in the closet.
What?
Yeah, I touched it. I touched it.
Oh, yeah, there is an enema there. Oh, it's not mine. It's from the previous owner.
Like, what kind of conversation is this? Whose enema is this? What a classic response. It's not my enema, I'm just holding it for a friend. What the f***? All right, I can take an oyster. We all love a good oyster. A buckashuck, anyone? So I am so happy to be seeing that happening right now. I can actually like watch through this sequence. And they're a great source of low-fat protein to really balance out the like stick of butter that I just ate. So I'm gonna give him the stamp of approval for that. Okay, so obviously the oysters were just not cutting it. We got a snack happening.
The good line, duck. Yeah, still good.
No, he's like eating like a burrito in the back of a cab. Like, that is one way to kill your Uber rating right there. Also, can we talk about how effortlessly he is chewing through that raw duck breast, that raw fat? Like, what the Honestly, the thought of eating through that much raw fat reminds me of what it'd be like to eat through like a cheap foam-soled flip-flop. No. Also, food safety again. Does this guy just like pull out a raw piece of meat out of his backpack for a quick snack attack? He is asking for salmonella poisoning. All right, so we're back at home for another snack.
Great quality.
2 cups of cottage cheese, it looks like.
Journey.
I love cottage cheese. I really do. It's a great high protein snack, but I'm not sure I could consume 2 cups in one go all by itself. Also, are like spoons a no-go on this diet? Because like, does he have to be that savage? This is probably not the kind of guy you want to bring to like a fancy dinner party or your parents' house for a lot of reasons. Yeah, he also seems to surround himself with a lot of like-minded people, like his friend Milk Jar.
All I had was milk and blood and an egg, and now the cottage cheese and honey. Yeah, that's all I have today.
So that's all.
And then later I'm going to have the rest of my testicle.
Like your own testicle?
No, the rest.
No. Glad you're not eating your own testicle, bud. I don't know which these 2 guys are worse, but clearly birds of avian flu feather flock together.
So again, this is a good example of the, I don't know, mainstream like health professional like talking down I don't know, food choices, I guess, or yeah, food choices that are not supported by scientific evidence, right? These are like easy targets for her, right? Like the guy's eating like, okay, personally, I wouldn't want to eat raw duck breast. I think it just sounds gross. It doesn't sound like it would taste good, right? Especially when you have other choices of raw meat that you could eat. So like, I wouldn't want to eat that either, but I don't think it's like bad for you, right? I'm sure it's like, it's probably, you know, good for you, I guess, like raw muscle meat, you know? It's not, again, like I said, it doesn't sound very appetizing. It doesn't sound like I would enjoy eating it, but I don't know, I never tried it. But that's not what she's saying, right? Like you hear what I'm saying. I'm not a registered dietitian or doctor, obviously, but like the way that I'm saying it is kind of like taking a look at it with an open mind, right? Like, okay, this guy seems to be eating it and he's alive, strange for sure, but alive. And he's, you know, there are other people in his social circle who are also doing this and they seem a little weird maybe, but they're normal. They don't seem malnourished specifically or like, you know, retarded or anything. Like they're living their lives, just living like this, right? That's not where she's coming from. She's saying like, you know, the World Health Organization says this, and like he's gonna get salmonella, and like blah blah blah, like all this stuff that is coming from knowledge that is like all scientifically based. Which again, like I said, like I don't want you to think I don't think the Earth is flat. I'm not like anti-science. Like I like science, I think it's great, but I think that it's not like your research should not stop at science. Okay, which is why, you know, I get a lot of like I'll recommend raw meat basically in like every video, and lately a lot of people are like, how do you eat it? Why do you eat it? Why are you recommending it? That's really crazy, like blah blah blah. And just because they haven't tried it, and it never occurs to them, I guess, to try it. Never occurred to me to try it until I actually watched Snake Diet Guy like eat, I don't know, like a kilo of beef liver. I was like, holy shit, like, and eat butter, actual butter. I was like, oh my god. Like, and he drank raw eggs too. And after I saw that, I was like, huh, like this guy knows his stuff and he did it, so maybe he's right. So I tried it and I love it. It's amazing. Regarding the salmonella, like I know that that's often reported as like a risk, right? Or that's cited as a risk of eating raw meat and drinking raw eggs. I've done both of those things many times. Have never experienced either of those things, or I've never experienced salmonella. So, and I've had a ton of raw milk. Like, does she not like raw milk either? I'm not sure. But I think those risks are overblown, like straight up. Like you can say whatever you want in a study, but if I try it and I don't experience those effects, like, okay, great. Like you've got your like little paper, you know, you've got your like, what's it called? Citation on NCBI. Good for you. You can make a video and make fun of like some weird non-mainstream flat earther if you want. But at the end of the day, if I try it and it works and I feel good and I perform well, like, do I care? Not really, but that's just me.
Is what I'm going to say about that. But, you know, this guy's talking about his cottage cheese and his steak and his honey and his eggs and his bull testicle that he's got to come back to because apparently that's a delicacy that you got to savor. Like, what the is this guy on Survivor? Is he trying to win a prize? What kind of day of eating is this?
So full I'm gonna die.
What?
I'm so full I'm gonna die. Oh. Why is it gotta be so filling?
Because of the salt and the protein.
It's fat protein. all you need. No cheese, no cottage cheese, no milk,
No cream,
no
no.
blah, 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 blah.
It is like the vacuum. It is like it's so sure.
I really do think that art is subjective, but considering there's a swastika on this person's forehead, I will openly say that this is clearly anti-Semitic and just plain ugly. Honestly, I was trying to have like an open heart and open mind with this guy and his diet and everything he stands for, but quite frankly, this is really offending me.
Good stuff to end the day.
I hate sounds. What sounds?
Yeah, I like it. 2 more of these, that will be it for today.
So first of all, they're like double yolk eggs. It's like he can't just have normal eggs. He needs the extra fat because he hasn't had enough of that today. But the weird thing is he just put the shells in his pocket. Like, it's so strange. This man is so strange. And some of his dietary and eating behaviors, it's just bizarre to me. But now I want to break it down and talk about the macros because there is a lot going on here. So for total calories, we're looking at about 2,300. And in terms of the macros, it's about 67% fat, 7% carbs, and 26% protein. So not surprisingly, his macronutrient distribution is definitely a little out of whack and unbalanced. He's consuming dangerously high levels of saturated fats from foods like the really fatty duck breast, the egg yolks, and a ton of butter. He's consuming very low amounts of carbohydrates, less than 40 grams in a day. And his protein levels are within range. And he's consuming fairly good sources from things like eggs, the liver, and the cottage cheese as well. But macros tell a very small part of the whole story. So let's talk about what's lacking in his diet. Honestly, a heck of a lot. If his diet looks like this every day, this guy's likely missing out on a lot of vitamins and minerals. Sure, he's probably not deficient in iron or B vitamins, but without any fruits or vegetables or whole grains, he's probably missing out on a ton of important fiber and, of course, a lot of the micronutrients as well. So let's talk about those. So first of all, I'd be particularly worried about a lot of the water-soluble vitamins and antioxidants like vitamin C, because I'm not seeing any fruits and vegetables going in right here. Also, he's potentially at risk of vitamin A toxicity and copper toxicity if he's consuming a lot of organ meats like liver on the daily. I also want to pull up his blood test results, which let me tell you, I think is really weird that he posted online. But anyways, let's take a look. So based on these results, he's within range for the few markers he chose to test and disclose. However, there are other really important numbers I would like to see to get a better view or take on his overall health. Things like calcium, potassium, sodium, magnesium, and of course, the most important, cholesterol. He mentioned in his blood test video that we'd have to donate 50 euros in order to see his LDL cholesterol numbers, which I think is kind of like super scary.
Okay, so yeah, so in terms of like, so first of all, check it again. Like I said before, this is like a theme. This is like essentially the analysis of somebody who's basically who's watching Sv3rige's video through the lens of somebody in the like modern medical profession, right? Like it's okay. So and you can't necessarily blame her for this, right? For example, if she were to watch this video and talk about it like I talk about it, she might be at risk for losing her license, right? Straight up, because like the stuff that I'm saying is not like backed up by science as far as I know, right? Like are there studies that show that raw meat is like good for you and you can have raw eggs and it's fine? I don't think so, because I think if those things did exist, I think they would be cited a lot more. I just would have heard of them. I haven't actually checked, but like because I don't really care, but I feel like I would have heard those things. Okay, but what you do have regarding those things is a lot of anecdotal evidence from people who have tried it, who have experience with it, and claim that it's good. Okay, and in my opinion, I think that's more important than like some numbers that you see on a blood test or studies, which I do think should not be discounted entirely. However, I think that they only should be used as a starting point for like your own personal testing, right? If you're, I don't want to say intelligent enough to do it properly, but like if you're, I guess, capable enough to notice the effects of stuff on your own body, right? Anyway, also, I want to talk about the swastika thing. Okay, so like the only reason I bring this up, right? This kind of reminds me of is like how sometimes like when white people will see like something that's racist against another group, and they'll like, it's virtue signaling, like be like, this offends me. I'm so offended by this, right? Like, do you really care? Probably not. Like, come on, like I don't care that the guy had a swastika on his thing. Does it mean he hates Jewish people? Maybe, but like the reason I said I don't care if it's art, because that's the only reason I thought about this, right, is I'm thinking of this particular image, this right here. I think, will they have it? This one doesn't have it. Yeah, okay, so this one does. Let me find a bigger one. Yeah, so if you guys can see this, this is, oh no, is that, yeah, so it's been whited out here. Sorry. So this red band right here is a swastika. Oh, this is it, I think, right? Isn't this it? Yeah, I'm sorry to like make this little detour, but I feel like this is worth showing. Here we go. All right, so if you guys can see this, this is like, I think this is a badass picture. Okay, I've used this in one of my blog posts just because I think it's fucking awesome. And it's not like, I don't think that the whole like swastika thing, like, oh my God, they have a swastika, therefore they're bad people, right? Like if you look at this, right, what is it? It's ridiculous, okay? You have flying unicorns that are breathing multicolored fire. These are like zombies, I guess, or people or something. Mushrooms that are on fire, a cat in a top hat smoking a cigar, and a unicorn that has a swastika, right? So like, is it a Nazi unicorn? I don't know, but that's pretty cool, right? That's just cool. I don't know. I'm not like, I'm Jewish. Like I don't hate Israel. Like I love Jewish people. This is not like secretly like me hating Jews or anything. I just think this is fucking awesome. That's just me, But again, I'm like, she can't say that, right? She couldn't look at this picture and be like, yeah, that's cool, even if she thinks it's cool, because registered dietitian says swastikas are cool. That's like the headline, you know what I mean? That might be the headline about me someday, if I'm lucky, and somebody actually cares enough about me to like, make a video picking me apart. Anyway.
Sketchy as but I would also really like to see his urea and nitrogen levels so that I can assess his kidney function, considering he's consuming so much animal protein. Also, we can only hope that this guy is adding some kind of multivitamin to his diet routine, but like with most YouTubers, we don't hear anything about that. Now let's discuss the elephant in the room. Is eating raw meat safe? Not really. So compared with raw fish, raw meat specifically has types of bacteria in it that can cause food poisoning, specifically things like E. coli. Now even in places like Japan, which are known for serving up like liver sashimi and other raw meat delicacies, the Japanese Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare demanded that people stop serving up raw beef liver, because of so many cases, deadly cases of food poisoning. Now, of course, there are ways to reduce your exposure and your risk of food poisoning, things like safe handling practices, using really good quality meats, and also storage and refrigeration. However, there are a lot of moving parts before that food ends up on your plate. The other question I'm probably gonna get asked is raw meat more nutritious? No. I know raw carnivores will share sensationalized anecdotes about how much healthier it is to eat raw. However, there's no scientific evidence that there's any benefits to a raw meat diet. What we do know is that the more processed a meat product is, the higher the risk of cardiovascular disease and certain cancers. However, highly processed foods are not the same thing as cooked foods. These are two different concepts. So let's talk more about the...
Okay. It's like a pet peeve of mine. I've said it many times. I'm going to say it again. There's no scientific evidence that shows that raw meat is more nutritious. What does this mean? This means no scientists have gotten together and done a study comparing the bioavailable nutrition content or whatever of raw meat as compared to cooked meat. That's what that means. No scientists have gotten together and done a study, right? Which that just means they haven't done a study on it, right? It hasn't been looked at. What this does not mean, which is what most people think, is that it has been scientifically proven that raw meat is less nutritious than cooked meat. Okay, do you understand the difference? Most people don't. And honestly, it seems like either she doesn't understand it either, or she's kind of not bending the truth, but she's using this like clever language to kind of hide that point. Okay, so like anytime I hear this, I have to stop it and say something, because that's something that I think needs to be addressed when talking about any sort of like health related thing, right? What else did she say? Yeah, whatever.
Cooked versus uncooked thing here, because this guy seems to think that cooking ruins the nutritional properties of food, and I want to unpack that a little bit. So when we cook meat, some of the enzymes are deactivated at a certain temperature, and raw food advocates claim that this can lead to enzyme deficiency. However, this does not actually make that much sense, because our body has its own enzymes that we use to digest food, and we don't rely on the enzymes in food to digest it and do it for us. Scientists have chimed in on this and agree that there's no evidence to suggest that raw enzymes contribute to better health, or that cooked enzymes have some kind of negative impact on our health. What I can say is that there are some nutrients that are depleted by cooking. Things like vitamin C or B vitamins can get leached into the water, and for that reason we recommend fast cooking methods, things like steaming or stir frying, to get the biggest nutrient bang for your buck. On the flip side, there are vegetables and nutrients that are actually enhanced by cooking. So things like carrots, tomatoes, peppers, spinach, all of these have enhanced antioxidants when they're cooked versus when they're raw. When it comes specifically to raw meat, Harvard researchers actually found that cooked meat actually supplies more energy to the body than raw meat. So move along, raw carnivores, move along. Should anybody actually be eating this much animal product? Well, research over the years has shown that increasing the amount of plant-based foods in your diet and reducing the amount of animal products in your diet can help reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and all-cause mortality. So in short, I would say no. Now, next I want to talk about digestion. Not to get any more graphic than we already have in this video, but I would not...
She's so sassy. Okay, Harvard researchers, I guess. So that's what a, like, let's call it factual statement should look like, right? That's a I guess decent argument for her point, right? And I guess my answer to that is like, okay, they proved that. In my experience, however, I feel better, I have more energy, and like train harder, and just everything is better overall. Digestion is better when I eat raw versus when I eat cooked. So, what's the explanation there? And also the whole like supplied more energy, that's a very vague statement. Like, what does that even mean, right? Like, what does that actually mean? I'm not going to look it up. I don't actually care, because like at the end of the day, let's say they prove that cooked meat is better in every single way. well, why is my life better when I eat it raw? You know what I mean? So anyway, yeah, very sassy.
Not want to be in the same house as this guy when he takes a dump. Cooking tends to make food a lot easier on our digestive system because it means it's easier to chew, which in turn makes it easier to digest, and that will cut back on gas and bloating. This guy also has legit no fiber in his diet, so I can only imagine how many magazines he probably goes through as bathroom reading material every single day. Finally, I want to talk about this guy's philosophy. So in the past, we've reviewed other vegan YouTubers, What I Eat in a Days, and these YouTubers tend to be really aggressive in their own food philosophies and shame other people who don't follow along as hardcore as them. But what about people like Godis? Do we want to encourage other people to eat like this, especially with what we know about the environment? Eating this way would require you to eat a ton of meat every single day, which not only has health implications and is very expensive, but also can be super damaging to our environment. The point is, going to an extreme on either end of the spectrum is devastating in its own way. Finding a more balanced approach to eating is a really important way to ensure that you're getting all the nutrients you need and also keeping Mother Nature healthy and happy. I also just want to say that I really don't like this guy's activity on YouTube. He seems to have made a life out of taunting vegans by showing up at vegan events or restaurants to eat raw meat, and also is making a lot of videos about vegans talking about how they're malnourished. Like, nobody, no. We need vegans in this world to balance out people like your meat consumption. It is a huge problem, and you don't have to be a dick about it. Honestly, I'm over this guy, and I'm so glad we're at the end of this video so I don't have to talk about him or watch his videos anymore. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video and my What I Eat in a Day.
Again, like a lot of virtue signaling, right? It's like this is like a video. This is like a video for people who already agree with what she's saying, right? This is like posting a political meme about Trump, for example, right, on like an anti-Trump Facebook group or something like that. It's like the same. That's what this is designed for, to just, I guess, like not necessarily stimulate any sort of thought, but to just kind of like reinforce what people already believe. Whatever, which is fine. Like, we all gotta make videos. We all gotta do our thing. I will say, just like in closing, that in general, like my personal philosophy that nobody really asked for or cares about is that I tend to look at the person and judge them kind of, maybe it's superficial, but judge them based on what they look like before I kind of decide. Maybe I let that bias, how seriously I take their advice, basically. And like a girl like this, she's not fat, very little muscle definition, however. She's just kind of like skinny, or skinny fat, I guess. Not somebody who I would necessarily identify with in terms of, let's call them health and fitness values, right? If we want to give that a broad term, right? Like and the reason I say that is because, again, in my experience, when I eat raw meat, I'm able to perform at a very high level when compared to if I eat, I don't know, would you say, like, well, let's say cooked meat, right? And again, like I'm able to perform at a high level when I eat cooked meat too, right? It's not like the difference is not very large, right? But it's, given the choice, I'd rather eat it raw. So anyway, interesting video. Yeah. So, okay, that's my opinion on that. If you guys have any other recommendations for videos or YouTubers that you want me to take a look at, let me know. Peace.